Have you ever stared at your phone, your thumb hovering over the send button, ready to completely destroy a relationship?
Wound tight, ready to snap
Your
at any
chest is
moment.
tight, your
There's so
breathing is
much pressure
shallow.
building.
Every word you typed is dripping with a quiet, exhausted bitterness. You feel totally justified. You feel like you have finally been pushed too far, and this message is the only way to make them understand. But underneath that sudden burst of explosive anger, there is a much quieter, much older feeling. It is the feeling of being taken for granted. Again. It is the hollow exhaustion of realizing you have poured your time, energy, and empathy into someone else, only to be left empty while they move on with their life. You believe you are angry at them, but the truth is you are suffocating under the weight of your own relentless accommodation. We call this the nice guy trap or the chronic people pleaser's dilemma. It is a psychological cycle where your genuine desire to be helpful slowly turns into an invisible cage of resentment.
I'm right here with you now.
I know this feeling intimately because I have lived inside of it. Recently, a stressed friend asked me for a massive favor. He was moving and desperately needed an extra set of hands. I already had plans. I was running on very little sleep, but the word yes slipped out of my mouth before I even had the chance to consider my own exhaustion. I spent the entire night packing his boxes, carrying heavy furniture down narrow stairs, and listening to him complain. By the time I drove home, the sun was coming up. I was physically broken and emotionally drained. A few hours later, I woke up, groggy and aching, and opened my phone. The first thing I saw was his story on social media. He was out at brunch with other friends, laughing, holding a drink, looking completely carefree. Something inside me snapped. It was a cold, sharp spike of fury. I opened our chat window and typed out a long, venomous message designed to hurt. I told him he was selfish. I told him I was completely done with our friendship. It was a message that would have burned the bridge forever. My finger rested on the send button. I was half a second away from tearing the relationship apart, simply because I felt so unseen. But in that moment of pure emotional heat, I remembered a crucial piece of biology. An emotion like anger only takes 90 seconds to wash through your physical system. When you get triggered, chemicals are immediately flushed into your bloodstream. They cause your heart to race, your face to flush, and your muscles to tense up. But if you do not actively feed that emotion with a story, those chemicals flush out of your body in a minute and a half. Anything you feel after those 90 seconds is because you are actively choosing to keep the loop going. You are replaying the injustice in your head. You are feeding the fire. So I forced myself to put the phone face down. I stood up. I walked to the kitchen and poured a glass of cold water. I watched the clock on the stove. I just breathed. I let the physical heat of the anger burn without adding my internal monologue to it. I separated the physical sensation of the anger from the story I was telling myself about being a victim. As those 90 seconds passed, the overwhelming urge to destroy the friendship began to fade. What was left behind in the quiet of my kitchen was not rage. It was a heavy, uncomfortable clarity. I realized in that moment that I was not actually furious that he was at brunch. I was furious at myself. I was angry because I had abandoned my own needs. I had betrayed my own boundaries, and now I was trying to make him pay the emotional price for a choice that I had freely made. This is the hidden, toxic cost of the nice guy trap. When we chronically people please, we like to think we are just being generous. We believe our endless availability makes us valuable or worthy of love. We convince ourselves that if we just give enough, eventually people will notice our sacrifices and give back to us with the exact same intensity. But human relationships are not vending machines where you insert favors and automatically receive unconditional love. When we operate this way, we are not actually being kind. We are silently building a massive debt that the other person does not even know they owe us. We say yes when we desperately mean no, and then we secretly resent them for not reading our minds. You probably know how this looks in your daily life. It is when your coworker asks you to cover their shift on your only day off, and you smile and say it is absolutely no problem, while internally dreading the entire week. It is when your partner decides what movie to watch, where to eat, and how to spend every single weekend, and you just go along with it, telling yourself that you are easygoing. But then one evening, they leave a single cup on the kitchen counter, and you absolutely explode over nothing.
What is
The
he
cup
doing?
is not the problem. The problem is the thousands of times you swallowed your own preferences to keep the peace. We hide our true limits because somewhere along the line, we learn that having needs makes us a burden. We learn that the only way to secure connection is to be perfectly accommodating. If you recognize your own reflection in this, I need you to hear something very clearly. Doing this does not make you weak. It does not make you a fake person or a manipulative friend. It just means you have been using self-abandonment as a survival strategy. You learned very early on that being agreeable was the safest way to move through a room without getting hurt. But the tragedy of the chronic people pleaser is that in your desperate attempt to never disappoint anyone else, you constantly, routinely disappoint yourself. You keep everyone else around you comfortable by silently setting yourself on fire. And the anger you feel is just your own self-respect trying to claw its way back to the surface. Healing from this pattern requires fundamentally shifting how you interact with your own discomfort and your anger. The next time you feel that familiar rush of resentment or that sudden urge to lash out, try to hit pause. Give yourself those 90 seconds. Step away from the phone. Drink a glass of water. Look at a wall. Focus entirely on the physical sensation in your body, the tight chest, the clenched jaw, the heat in your face, and absolutely refuse to engage with the story in your head. Do not write the narrative. Just feel the biology. Let the wave pass. Once the physical storm settles, you can look at the situation with actual clarity. You will almost always find that your anger is pointing out a boundary that you failed to set. Then you have to start doing the terrifying fray of actually setting those boundaries. You have to learn how to disappoint people in small, manageable ways. This does not mean you need to become aggressive or cold. You do not need to give a long, over-explained, deeply apologetic speech detailing your reasoning. The most effective boundaries are simple, neutral, and short. When asked for a favor that drains you, you do not have to say yes just because you are physically capable. You can simply say, I cannot take that on right now. If a direct no feels too harsh at first, offer an alternative that protects your peace. You can say, I cannot help you move the whole night, but I can come by for 2 hours tomorrow morning. Or, I do not have the emotional capacity to talk right now, but I can call you tomorrow evening. You are allowed to negotiate your availability. I did not send that terrible text to my friend that morning. Instead, later that afternoon, when my heart rate was normal and my mind was clear, I texted him and simply said that I was exhausted from the move and needed to completely disconnect for the weekend to recover. He replied instantly. He said he understood, thanked me again for the help, and told me to rest. The world did not end. He did not hate me. He did not abandon me. The friendship survived without any drama. But much more importantly, my relationship with myself began to heal. The people who genuinely care about you do not want your help if the hidden cost is your silent suffering. They want you, not just what you can do for them. It is profoundly uncomfortable to start saying no. It will feel incredibly wrong at first. Your brain will tell you that you are being selfish and unlovable. Let it feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is not a warning sign that you are doing something wrong. It is just the feeling of you finally taking up the space you were always allowed to occupy. You do not have to earn your place by being endlessly useful to everyone else. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to be unavailable. You are allowed to protect your own energy, even if it mildly inconveniences someone else. Take a breath, let the anger pass, and then quietly and firmly choose yourself.